Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out for How to Win Awards and Influence Readers in 439 days and 668 posts. Please don't make me repeat that title. My name is Kwon. I'm a head instructor at the Birmingham Blogging Academy. I'm also a co-founder of the Alabama Social Media Association. Thank you for coming out today. Really, the talk in a nutshell is advanced content management and marketing. So what can you put on your site to attract readers, to gain interaction with them, to win over a loyal following, get more customers, etc. If you want to tweet out the session, please feel free to. I keep everything in under 140 characters. My Twitter name is up at the top, @WadeOnTweets, if you want to include my Twitter name in there. If you have any questions at any point, please feel free to raise your hands. I'll be happy to take any and all questions. I'm going to try and make sure we stay on time. By the way, all the slides will be posted. I'll have a link to the slides at the end of the presentation. You're welcome to take as many notes as you want to, but the slides will be available for you to look at, to download, to print out, to paste, etc. So you can sit back, listen, and if you have questions, just raise your hand. So, when we talk about building up big websites, it's a little bit backwards, because when you look at building a skyscraper, you don't call me, call an architect. You need a blueprint, you need an expert with someone who knows materials, knows what fire exits are going to be, knows where you want to put the conference room, knows structural load, cost, etc. Pretty straightforward. I want a 30-story skyscraper, I want to take a full city block, I want to cost this much. But if you're building a super high traffic website, it's a little backwards. And I'm going to go through the steps so you understand why it's backwards. But you got to remember the 3 B's. Blog, baby, blog. If you remember the 3 B's, that's as good a starting point as any, because there's not going to be a blueprint. I'm going to tell you some ways that you can get around that, but in terms of advanced content marketing, there's no magic bullet solution. There's not one thing that I can tell each one of you in this room on how to do it correctly. It's going to differ by your business. It's going to differ by your goal. It's going to differ by your nonprofit organization. It's important to keep that in mind. So, building a skyscraper, go find an architect. Building a super high website, start with the 3 B's. So what are we going to cover in the next 33 minutes? First, don't have a plan, man. No blueprint. But I will tell you what you do need to focus on in order to get from point A to point B. We're talking about long term. We're not talking about 3 months, we're talking about 12 months, we're talking about 24 months, we're talking about 3 years. Cover everything. So you may not have a plan, but you're still going to go broad within your topic area in your industry. So we'll talk about different ways to develop topics within your business. Third thing, measure, measure, measure. It's no good without numbers. If you don't know how you're doing, if you don't know what your daily numbers are and your weekly numbers are and your monthly numbers are, you're lost. There's nothing I can tell you that's going to help you. But if you monitor the traffic, see the direction that it's going in, hopefully it's going up, not sideways, not down, then you're in good shape because you know where you're headed and you can alter your course along the way. Okay, so you don't have a plan, right? First step. Pretty easy. Most of us start out without a plan. There's not much I can tell you beyond that, but if I come in there and tell you exactly what you should do, or if you figure out all the topics that you think your customers are interested in, or that your potential audience is interested in, you're going to be wrong. I'm often wrong about what I think readers want. And that's after 20 years in journalism and publishing. It's after trying to anticipate reader needs. It's after looking at the patterns and the trends of what sells and what doesn't. I'm wrong on a regular basis. That's why a plan is not going to be very helpful at this point. But you do need an objective. You need a focus, a direction of where you're going, how you're going to handle all of this. So I'll give you an example in a second, but what's the difference between an objective and a plan? Well, plan, you map out everything, you know what you're going to do in 2 weeks, you're going to know what you're going to do in 2 months. Objectives just focus. What's our mission? What are we interested in? What are we passionate about? What's that one area that defines us, our brand, our company, our nonprofit organization? October 18th, 2010, launched a new site in Birmingham. It's a news site focused on Birmingham market. It's called Magic City Post. The day we launched it, we had 0 readers. 0. No advanced marketing, no radio commercials, no TV commercials, no billboards, no banner ads. Just a URL, WordPress site, and 1 post. And then 2 posts, and then 3 posts. We didn't have a plan. Promise you, we did not have a plan. But we did have an objective. Cover everything positive in Birmingham. Unrelentingly positive. Oops. There are so many sites and media outlets in Birmingham that cover the news. Good, bad news, things that are going on. We just wanted to present a site that was going to do positive news. If you need bad news, you can flip on the TV, you can go to another media outlet site, you can open the newspaper. Didn't need to cover that. It's already well covered. And there are other outlets doing a good job of good news too. We're just another voice in the community. We're going to focus on unrelentingly positive things about Birmingham. That was our objective, that was our focus. That shut out a lot of things we didn't have to cover. But if it was an event, an idea, a movement, we definitely wanted to cover it. If there was a problem about something going on in Birmingham, we wanted to present options. We wanted to ask readers what they thought. We wanted them to come up with positive solutions, all under that positive umbrella. So that's our objective. That was our focus. So, no plan, but a focus. But we did want to cover everything within that positive umbrella. So as you're thinking about your business site, or your blog, or how you're going to manage content and add it on there, where you're going to go once you have your focus, you're going to cover everything. Everything. When I say that, it's a little baffling. People have done it a while. They struggle a little bit because they're so immersed in it, they think they've run out of topics. They think they've covered everything under the sun. And so one of the things that I want to help you with is, if you're stuck at that point, I want to give you some more topics to talk about that I think is going to excite your audience, that I think is going to build your website, that I think is going to build the traffic numbers and build that engagement. The reason why I say you cover everything is because you don't know what's going to work. You can't predict with any certainty. And again, I say that with 20 years in the news business, 7 years of blogging at this point, thousands of posts under my belt, terrible at predicting trends, terrible. At Magic City Post, I'd have next week's posts ready to go. So I'd have them edited, I'd have them scheduled, I'd know what day, what topic, what hour. I'd think, okay, this one's going to do fine. These 2 are going to be okay. This post is going to tank. Most of the time, I got it completely wrong. The ones I thought were going to tank, they did fantastic. The reason why I didn't predict this is because I didn't know my audience that well. I got to know them better over time. Even then, my prediction rate wasn't that good. But what helped was trying out different topics under the positive umbrella. Because you don't know. How many of you are blogging or have been running a content site for at least 2 or 3 years? Okay. So you're going to know what I'm talking about in a moment. The rest of you haven't raised your hands. You're going to see this if you blog on a consistent basis. You have one post somewhere in your archive that's got more traffic than anything else. And it's nothing you might have imagined would have worked. And it's because it hit upon a couple of keywords, zombie pterodactyls, or, cute kitten eating sandwich. But it's that one post, you know about it. No one else knows about it. They've been to your site looks the same, just add some posts every so often. It's been through some redesigns, but there's one post that always brings in Google traffic. Year after year, week after week, whatever those magic search terms are. And they have nothing to do with anything you've written out before or since. That's what happens. But if you do it over a regular basis, you find those magic topics again and again. And the better you get at it, you hit that long tail. You hit those trends that people aren't going to pick up on until they see it on your site. Because, you know, everything's been written about before, right? Every blog out there is out there conceivably. So it's not that you can actually put out something new or original, right? And then people continue to blog. They continue to get traffic. And they continue to find readers to that one magic post, or those 10 magic posts, or that series, or that video, or that gallery of photos. Because you never know. Okay, I'm going to get my soapbox for a second. Diversity is the key. Those 668 posts, I didn't write them all. I don't have time. I had at least 20 writers helping me at some point. Some writers I had never even met before, haven't met yet. But we reached out to them, or they reached out to us, and they had something positive to say about Birmingham. Put it on the site. Different perspective, different idea, something new, something old. Diversity was important. The audience in Birmingham is diverse, therefore our content must reflect that. What do I mean by diversity? Racial diversity? Sure. Age, neighborhood, north, south, downtown, over the mountain. Men, women, children. Lots of things fall under positive within Birmingham. Just because I've been in journalism for a long time, just because I've been blogging for a long time, my perspective is very narrow, extremely narrow. But by opening it up to other writers, by having that wide perspective, we're able to win over more readers. There's a site launch this week. It's a tourism department initiative called the Year of Alabama Food. And so we're all looking at things from our own lens. So I'm looking at it through my lens. My lens is this, you know, I love food in Birmingham, I love food in Alabama. Birmingham's my hometown. Grew up here. Talked about food, written about it, know a lot of food bloggers and chefs and so on. Really important topic for the state. They did Year of Alabama Food 7 years ago, so I knew they were going to do a great job because they'd already done this. But there were so many new food options since 2005, surely they'd have a great variety of things on the website. Surely there'd be all these awesome things that people in the other 49 states and around the world don't know about. They don't know Birmingham's a food mecca. They don't know Alabama's a food mecca. So they rolled out the site this week. I took a look at it and I noticed something. It's really white. Stuff that white people like. Nothing wrong with that. But, so of the 30 restaurants listed for Birmingham, you know, go down the list. They're the ones you suspect. They're the ones that have won awards, have gotten accolades, that are well known outside the Birmingham market. These are the ones that are going to draw tourists in. These are the ones that they're going to come and they're going to have a fantastic meal. It just happens to be coincidence, and I looked down the list, just checked it against my own database in my head. All 30 are white owned. Again, nothing wrong with that. However, I happen to know that in the diversity of Birmingham, there are plenty of minority residents, and there are plenty of minority residents who own restaurants that represent cuisines outside of what were listed in the 30 restaurants on the site. So I'm looking through that one lens, which is, if you talk about local food, again, I'm on my soapbox, so if you talk about local food, you know, local food movement is about where's food come from, who prepares it, where's it sourced, how's it prepared, what's the style, everything about knowing about how it got to your plate, not just category of food. Indian, Mexican, American, fast food, casual, upscale. What restaurants are we missing on that list? Well, I've listed 10 restaurants that could be on that list that are minority owned, that represent different cuisines that are on that list. Korean, Indian, Chinese. Some of the best Chinese you've ever had, just over in Hoover, Mr. Chen's, not on the list. Taj, India, been open 20 years, not on the list. Things that represent other parts of Birmingham. How many tourism dollars are we going to lose because they're not on the list? How many dollars are those restaurant owners going to lose because they're not on the list? Diversity is important in terms of content management and content marketing because you're going to reflect the audience that wants to see that stuff. It's going to reflect your community or your brand or your company. So to translate it into terms of your company, how many of you are the sole blogger for your company? Raise your hand. Okay, take your hand down if you're a one-person shop. If there are more than one people at your company, keep your hand up. You're the sole blogger for your company. Okay, see, I see a couple of hands. Often it's the marketing folks, right, or PR folks, trusted communicators. But what stories are you missing within your company or your brand from the frontline workers and the 20-year veterans and the salespeople and the accountants and the CEO and the interns and people in the remote offices and the product development team and the research team? What stories are you missing within the brand that your audience might be interested in? Might not be as polished, but it might resonate with some audience people that you're not reaching right now. Because you got to funnel it through marketing. You got to funnel it through legal. You have this content that comes out on a cookie cutter assembly line, and you're always going to have the same audience. It's not going to grow very much, and it's not going to grow very fast. Diversity is the key. End of soapbox. So you know that you don't really need a plan, but you do need a focus. You know that you need to cover everything, to be diverse, to come up with lots of topics within that umbrella. For instance, positive things in Birmingham. Last thing is you got to measure these things. You got to know your numbers. You got to know what to measure and how it's going to affect you in the long term. Because again, we're not talking about how to fix your site within 3 weeks. We're talking about long-term content marketing, longer than a year. It's easy to get started. It's really difficult to sustain it, especially if you're doing it by yourself, especially if you're still trying to get buy-in from your company and your boss and other people in other departments and your colleagues. You got to measure, measure, measure. So the simplest, and I think most of you are familiar with these things, page views, and related to that, unique visitors, time on site, bounce rate. These are very simple metrics, stuff that you can measure within WordPress. You can just use the Jetpack stats counter, or you can use Google Analytics, or you can use other plugins. But if they're going up over time, you're doing all right. If they're flat, you might need to adjust. If they're going down, you're in trouble. Comments, not a perfect measurement tool, but still a useful one. Typically, a post that gets 50 comments is probably going to be better than a post that gets 0 or 1 comments. Now, those 50 comments may be telling you you're an idiot, and you don't know what you're talking about, and I've gotten those comments before. You have to keep something in mind. Comments are love. They might not feel like love if they're yelling at you, but they're love. Because it means they care enough to respond, care enough to point something out. If it's a problem, and enough people say it's a problem, maybe there really is a problem. Maybe there's something you can fix so that you make your customers happier, so you make your product better, or your service better. But in any case, comments are love. Treat them as such. Welcome them, encourage them, respond to them. It is a useful measurement statistic. It's not the best one, especially if, when you start out, October 18th, 2010, there are no comments. You know why? Because there are no readers. Because there's one post. But it changes over time. You have to hang in there. Likes. We're all going to be measured on likes for the 21st century. Thank you, Facebook. That's not a bad thing, though. I mean, likes are social. Likes you can count. So if someone liked your post, or 10 people like your post, and so on, not only do they like it on your site, typically it will share on their Facebook stream. So they're not only sharing it with you, they're sharing it with their audience. And their audience might come and look at what they liked. So another thing to keep an eye on, number of likes, plus ones, tweets, all the social shares going on with your post, your website. Questions so far? So simplest, comments, page views, likes. Complex, year-to-year changes. Okay, why year-to-year? Seasonally, you're going to see ups and downs. If it goes up every single month, you're doing great. You don't need my help. You don't need anyone's help. You're doing it perfectly. Magic Post, ups and downs. Some months would be up, some months would be down. Seasonally, we didn't know what was working, what wasn't working. We just kept putting out posts, trying out different topics, reaching out to as much of the community as possible, using social sharing. So we had some idea of the measurements, and we paid attention to it. We paid attention to what was tracking and what wasn't. But what really was important was year to year. You know, if you went to an accountant's office, let's say March 15th to April 15th, and it's really busy, and there are long lines, you might think this is a very successful accountant, they got all the business they can handle. And then you go in, let's say April 25th, and it's dead, and there's no one there, and everyone's on vacation. You might assume that the accountant's in trouble. Or you might figure out that, of course, there's tax season and there's non-tax season, and sometimes tax season's a little bit busier for accountants than non-tax season. So if you compare April to May, in terms of revenue and traffic for an accountant, just foot traffic, you're going to see probably a steep drop-off, because everyone's filing in April, and in May, they're not. What matters for that accounting firm is April 2012 versus April 2011 versus April 2010 versus April 2009, and so on. And in their off season, last quarter of the year versus the last quarter of the previous year versus the last quarter of the year before. How are they doing year to year? Look at retail sales. So many retail sales happened, could be as much as 75 to 80% between Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's a huge proportion for retailers. So if you measure it just based on November and December sales versus, say, September and October sales, you're going to get a very skewed picture. But how do most economic analysts tell the tale? Christmas season 2011 versus Christmas season 2010 versus 2009, and so on. Was there an uptick or not? Is the economy better or not? Did people go out shopping on Black Friday or not? Year to year is what matters. The reason is because if you see seasonal ups and downs, customers are on vacation, they're off vacation, the kids are in school, they're not in school. They're busy with the holidays, it's the beginning of the year, they're not busy anymore. Depending on your business, depending on when you roll out products, year to year tends to matter more. November 2010, December 2010, we had just rolled out the site. November 2011, December 2011, 1 year later, that's when we had year to year data. So the last 2 months of last year, we jumped 90 to 110% in terms of traffic and visitors. That's pretty good. That's what you can hope for. That's what happens when you start out with no plan. That's what happens when you have that focus and you're consistent about your posts and you reach out to as much of the community as possible, year to year. Okay, so before I conclude, just want to give you one special offer, which is this. I just spent 25 minutes telling you you don't need a plan, you don't need an editorial calendar. You can just do this on your own, which you can. However, because I work with businesses and business owners and individuals who may be stuck in terms of what to talk about in their social media channels and on their websites, in their blogs, in their email newsletters, come see me. 6-month editorial calendar, $400 instead of $500 is 20% savings. Even if you're just remotely interested, no obligation. Just come see me after the presentation, give me your business card. If you don't have a business card, write it down on a slip of paper. I'll contact you next week after I've had like a 30-hour nap and have recovered from getting ready for WordCamp and tonight's party and so on. So, you know, I've kind of given that broad outline of how to approach content marketing over a long period of time. It is not easy. The challenges are you've got to sustain it, you've got to find people to buy into it, you've got to keep feeding that beast. You're not always sure if it's going to pay off. Even if you see the numbers, you're kind of living in isolation. You don't necessarily know until they walk in the door, until they pick up the phone, until they order something off your website, how it's converting. And that is the ultimate goal, is you do want conversions based on all of this content marketing. You don't want to just sit there and have a high traffic site that no one wants to do anything with you from that point on. So I'm going to end with this story, which is this. The Birmingham News has a reader's poll every year. And they've been running a long time. They've been running so long, you used to just tear the sheet out of the newspaper, fill it out, and mail it in, or if you could fit it in your fax machine, fax it in. Dozens of categories that ask community, you know, best barbecue restaurant, best place to go people watching, best local boy and girl made good, and so on. And so a couple of weeks ago, the results came out. And I was stunned at the results. Here's why. One of the categories is best website. You know who wins that category every year? AL.com. That's the sister site and company to the Birmingham News. Which, you know, I mean, they host the ballot. You have to go to AL.com, fill out the ballot. I'm not implying anything. I'm just saying that's how you fill it out. If Dreamland Barbecue wanted to run the best barbecue restaurant contest, you had to go in, buy $10 worth of ribs, and then you get a ballot, and you fill it out. They're welcome to do that. So some idiot media pundit has said for years that it wasn't fair for them to host the ballot. They should recuse themselves from the contest because, of course, they're sister companies with the Birmingham News and they're hosting the ballot and they were going to win it anyway. There's no way anyone could beat AL.com because they're the state's largest website. I mean, far and away they have the most traffic, the most pages, the most breaking news, the most advertisers. They are Goliath. They're huge. But December 30th, so the results came out. I was shocked when I woke up and found out, first time in Birmingham News Readers Contest history, another site beat them. And it was our site. I was shocked. So Magic Seat Post pulled this off. 2 full-time people, a handful of writers who are writing part-time, tiny budget, WordPress site, no marketing beyond just social media channels and an email newsletter we started 3 months ago. How did we pull it off? I mean, we must have begged for votes. I must have been sitting up all night filling out that ballot over and over again. It was wearing out my arm. You know, we never asked for votes. We never linked to the site. We never mentioned the ballot. We trust our readers. If they want to go vote for us, it's fine. They can pick whatever. They're smart enough to pick whatever website or barbecue restaurant or best park, however they want to pick it. I was really surprised and moved. 6,600 ballots went into the 2011 Readers Poll, Birmingham's best. Enough people had seen our site at some point in 2011, in those 449 days or whatever, and liked us enough that they went to the site, they found the entry for best local website, and they typed in our name. Didn't ask them to, but they did anyway. I'm never going to meet most of those people, but I want to tell them thank you, because without them, we wouldn't have gotten this honor. And it's a huge honor to me, to my partner, to everyone who's worked on the site. That's one of those unexpected benefits of doing content marketing, doing sustained blogging, finding a focus, and doing it consistently over a long period of time. If we can do it, if 2 people and a handful of writers can do it, you definitely can do it. Your retail operation, your big company, your nonprofit agency, your solo entrepreneur endeavor can stand out as a brand, can win people over, can get them so passionate that they will get off their duff and do something totally unexpected and amazing. But you have to start with 3 B's. What are the 3 B's? Blog, baby, blog. Why? Because you never know. If you have questions and you don't think of them today, you can email me at wade@wadekwon.com. My site is birmingamblogging.com. You can find me on Twitter at wadeontweets. Today's slides are at that link. It's wade/bhamsbest. It's wa.de/bhamsbest. They should be posted right now. Again, you can email the slides to yourself, you can download them, you can print them out, you can share them with people, whatever you'd like. But I always think of questions after the presentation. I always forget until I'm driving home. Please feel free to ask them. Feel free to email me. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. Or come see me after the presentation. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon, everyone.